Hello and happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And ladies and gentlemen, for the next 90 minutes to start and hopefully end your Friday on a great note, we're going to be talking about Battlefield 6 and its multiplayer reveal yesterday. Oh my God, Battlefield is so back. It looks really good. I got some thoughts and some theories into some of the shade thrown toward Call of Duty's way regarding its skins. Again, I've always been a Battlefield fan. I like the realism. These games are going to be totally separate and totally different, and that's what's going to make them work in tandem, so to speak. I think there's going to be an audience for one or the other. I think there's going to be an audience for both, to be quite honest with you. We'll get into that. But of course, we're going to be opening up with some of the news that popped out this week regarding Xbox and its record-breaking numbers. Again, remember, folks, we don't cap or cope for the $4 trillion company. We discuss what is going on in the industry, and that's one of the big stories. And we got a report from Nate the Hate, ladies and gentlemen, that more PlayStation games will in fact be released. Now, we're going to get into that story more specifically. He did not have any named titles. What he did say, because I think it was Clute or Abdel114 in the chat asked him specifically about Lego Horizon. And you heard my story, folks. I have talked to a particular source, which will remain unnamed, and I can confirm that the port for Lego Horizons for Xbox is done. It's literally sitting on a digital shelf waiting to be just dropped into Xbox's store. Clute asked him about that, and he said, I don't know, but why? So, I mean, obviously the sales numbers for that were not really good, but I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I played the Lego games with Tyler. I played the Lego games just hanging out, doing the single player mode on most of them, and I freaking love it. I love the Lego games. I have every Lego game ever released on Xbox, every one of them, and I have all the character packs. You name it, I have it, and I love them. I'm a big kid like that. If Lego Horizon launched, I would purchase it gladly. If it launched in the Game Pass, I would play it that way. And I would really enjoy it because I really do like Horizon. I did not like the second one as much as I loved the first one, but I still like that universe. And I think that it looked really freaking good. And I'd gladly play it on Xbox. But that's what we're covering here today, ladies and gentlemen. Again, August 1st, we are officially 19 days from one of the biggest shows of the year in Gamescom. We know Gamescom is going to levy 20 plus games. We might get a shadow drop of something. We don't know. We're definitely going to see hands-on footage with the handheld, the ROG Ally Xbox, both versions. I believe we're going to get a release date and an official price, at least for America, which I think is going to be $800 for the big boy. But again, folks, what a time to be a gamer. I mean, there's just so much. And P.S., by the way, shout out to Kay Asante for literally taking my arm, bending it behind my back, and he told me, Boom, I'm going to take your gamer card if you don't play the Shinobi demo, and holy shitballs. Sega's back, ladies and gentlemen. My God. I mean, I'm inundated with games. I'm playing RoboCop, the second and I thought it was DLC. It's actually its own game, which I did not know that. And I'm really glad because they changed. So it's so much better than Rogue City, leaps and bounds better. I haven't played Tony Hawk. I haven't played, what was the one that did the Falling Feathers that just came out?
Wu Chang.
Wu Chang. I downloaded it. I haven't played it. It's just, oh my God, there's so many games, ladies and gentlemen. But listen, thank you so much for hanging out here on a Friday. We already have 130 people here. We're only a couple of minutes into the show. Let's get into the introductions. Korkenstein, thanks so much for joining us, brother. Great to see you here.
Hey guys, yeah. To further reinforce that, Boom, I heard about the same thing. Lego Horizon is done. I heard about it 2-3 weeks ago.
Yep.
I'm not a big leaker, that kind of thing. I don't really play that game, but yeah, I heard about it. I was told about it, but we'll see. I mean, it makes sense. Horizon's one of their best-selling IPs.
Yes.
If it's either a best-selling IP, I mean, we'll see what happens. People are still denying. I mean, you saw the whole rant I got into on Twitter.
Oh, dude, that was you really
No.
triggered, and you know something, that guy got triggered by my simple post about Spider-Man. Again, I think it was.
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta pull it. I think it was Exodus that might have, or a style. I think it might have been a style. Yeah, that put out
Mhm.
a Spider-Man post. And listen, folks, you've heard me talk about this before. I'm very excited for Spider-Man coming to Xbox.
Same.
And I simply put in that post. It's going to be a glorious day when that happens. And that dude, again, no names here, folks, got so angry at me where he literally, I'm going to read verbatim what he said. And again, this is just, just for shits and giggles, folks. He says, "You don't know something we don't, Boom. Sony IPs stay on Sony IPs. Helldiver 1 was PC and Xbox. You'll never be playing Spider-Man ever," in all caps. I mean, like, bro, like, it's not that serious.
It's not.
Like, just simmer down there, young man. Because he seemed young, just the way he wrote it. So please continue.
No, it was just hilarious. And then like I was laughing throughout the whole entire thing, and yeah, it just evolved. And then he like stroked out or something and started talking about salaries and like
oh my god, yes, I saw that. It was
I was
it was
like,
bad. It was
yeah,
bad.
it was pretty bad. But yeah, I'm happy. Battlefield 6 is back. I'm so excited. I can't wait to talk about that. I'll let people know just right now. I worked on the Battlefield series, not this one, but in past when I worked for Electronic Arts.
Nice, dude.
I worked on Battlefield 4.
Awesome.
So I'm excited to talk about that. And yeah, all the PlayStation, Xbox news. But yeah, enough about me. Sorry, guys, kind of went off on.
No. Listen, brother, you're a big part of the show. We're happy to have you here. Ham Solo should be joining us shortly. He does have the link. Hopefully, he does join us. Going to get his hot take on everything that's going on. But Crispy Bomb, my brother from another, how the heck are you feeling? And I'm going to say this, folks. I don't normally say this, but I am in my villain arc. Ponies are down bad, as the kids like to say.
Oh, well, we all know that. They are crashing out hardcore. Had to block a few.
Stroking out, crashing out. It's just bad in those streets, man. Wow.
Even followers that I had, like, all of a sudden are like freaking saying threats and stuff all over stupid
that's
video games, dude. It's getting a little dumb. At the end of the day, like, we're all gamers, and yes, I'm also one of those people. Like, the last Battlefield I played was the one you worked on, so
that was really good.
Salute to you, and yeah, I think Battlefield's back, and shout out to them for that trailer, because we all know that song very well, and they left the F-bombs in, people, and that made me very happy. But Xbox, shame on you, you took them out. I understand why, but come on. Yeah, but yeah, let's get into it.
I mean, listen, I saw even like the developer dropped an F-bomb. Like, I was really taken aback. Not because I don't curse myself. I curse like a sailor. I just don't curse live on the air because I know that I have I'm an old man, and most of the people here are old men like me. But there is a younger audience, and I try to keep it PG-13. It's just how I am. I didn't curse as a cop in uniform, never, unless it was like dire, like super, like, the highest ceiling you could possibly get. That's the only time a curse would come out. But for the most part, no, I was a gentleman police officer. Like, I'm a gentleman podcaster. I don't like to curse in public, especially not on the air. I try not to anyway. Occasionally one pops out, but listen, it's going to be a fun show. We're going to get a little messy. This is going to be a little bit of a messy. I got the broom and the mop ready to go. But Fuzzy Belvedere, what's going on, my brother? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. It's a different atmosphere on the Twitter streets these days, considering Sony is once again following Xbox and its recent business moves. I mean, ponies are still not having the best of time accepting it, but it is what it is. I mean, it all started with them denying the handheld is an Xbox, and
Yes, that
I
started
guess Sony
it.
was like, "Hey, we can't block it, so yeah, can't beat them, join them." So yeah.
Well, that's
Here we
ultimately what
are.
Xbox wound up doing, right? Like, Xbox had to pivot, right? This is not a mistake, folks. This is a course correction because of the dominance of Sony. Let's not make any mistakes here. They're the market leader currently, but only on consoles. When you start getting into the real weeds of things, they're really not the market leader. And it's going to get worse for Sony. And the reason why it's going to get worse for Sony is because Microsoft, and by the way, a brilliant show with you, Mav, and the gang, Pong and Jasper. Yeah, incredible. I listened to it actually when I was doing the wash this morning. And one of the things that came out of that conversation is, and I believe it was Mav that said this, Xbox finds themselves in one of the most perfect and unique situations that the brand has ever found itself. Like, I know that there was the PS3 360 era where Sony kind of stepped on it a little bit with the $600 console and the massive damage crab thing, and this is it was just awful for them. They eventually came back, but they only came back because it sold longer than the 360. Otherwise that was the Xbox generation. But now, more specifically, if you kind of see the way Microsoft, or specifically the Phil Spencer run Xbox, had to shift, it really was we can't beat them, so we might as well join them. And I think, and this is, we're going to get into this because this opening topic is going to have a lot of peaks and valleys and a lot of opinions, and it's going to be a fun conversation. And one of the things that we can I think openly admit is that Sony is a billion-dollar corporation. It is publicly traded. There are people on the board that are looking at what Xbox is doing. Xbox is taking 70% of every game sold on their store. Right now, 6 Xbox games out of the top 10 most paid for games on PlayStation are Microsoft-owned IP. That's a big problem for Sony. And I said this, and I got a lot of pushback from some of the Xbox guys, and that's fine. I honestly believe in my heart of hearts, this is me being honest with you, because I'm going to buy them. I'm not a poser like these ponies that come out and they talk about numbers and their trophies are hidden. You can check my trophies. You can see what games I've platinumed. And you can see how many games I played and I own, right? They're very easy to find. Every one of the games that Sony is going to release, I'm probably going to buy. Of Returnal, I'll gladly buy. Days Gone, I'll buy it. Ratchet and Clank, you automatic. And I tell you right now, I'm going to fall out of my chair when Astrobot comes to Xbox, because it's going to. You know why? Because you knuckleheads that talk about sales numbers, and again, no names here, folks, didn't buy the game. At least I bought it, and I got every trophy except one. I haven't gotten any of the new ones. I have not been back to Astrobot, but I freaking loved every second of it. Would play it again on my Xbox in a microsecond. So because, as Jim Ryan said, the PlayStation fandom isn't enough, well, now your games are coming to Xbox, and it is going to start with Spider-Man. That I can guarantee you is going to be the first game to come over. Why? Because it's common sense, folks. Spider-Man, it's the biggest IP that Marvel owns. He is world renowned, one of the most popular superheroes. And guess what? It's already been ported to PC. But listen, I'm going on and on. There's a lot to get in here. Shout out to Will the Broke Boy Lewis. He says, "Did you see the one PlayStation kid called? This is sick, man. For a public hanging of Sony executives for porting games to Xbox." Folks, I'm going to tell you this right now. That right there, now this is where I'm put on the popo hat. That person, you got to bring him in for questioning. You got to at least talk to this person and see where their mental status is. Hope somebody reported him, because that's just crazy. That is even if it's in jest, that is a problem. Shout out to Will. As a matter of fact, well, you know what? He dropped the super chat, so let me just get into that before we get into the actual first topic. And this comes the way of Will the they changed the names. It really drives me crazy. It is Do You K Now, the broke boy insider, as he's known, drops a very generous $10 super chat. He says PS Fanboy said a while back that the next Xbox will be made by a third party. Are now saying the Asus Xbox Ally is not an Xbox. Never saw a group so upset and backtracking about actually being right. You know, I said this, and I always get Fuzzy to laugh. If you've seen the backtracking, the hill climbing, the ice skating, the goalpost moving, ponies, because they're not the PlayStation players. These are the trolls. These are the worst of the worst. I'm going to say this. They all look like The Rock now because, man, that goalpost keeps getting moved on a daily basis. They got to have biceps size of Hulk Hogan, which, by the way, passed away. You know, shout out to Hulk Hogan. That was my hero when I was a kid. But, yeah, folks, we're going to get into it. But, look, let's start off with the Nate the Hate post from yesterday, gentlemen. And again, Nate the Hate, you can take him, you can leave him. Some people trust what he has to say, other people don't. Look, I don't know Nate personally. I've used his stuff before. The guy's connected. Now, is he how connected? I'm not going to try and I'm not going to answer that question. I have no idea. But he's been right more times than he's been wrong. Now, what's that percentage? Folks, I don't follow it that close. I'm 54. I got 5 shows to run every week. I'm not in the trenches like that. But what I can say is I do have his post. And again, this was from Nate the Hate's YouTube account. Twitter account. And it was actually posted by VGT Gaming News. And this is what Nate the Hate had to say yesterday. He says, more Sony games will come to Xbox, yes. And this, of course, him responding to Clute or Abdel114 in the chat, says regarding Horizon, says, I don't know anything about Lego Horizon going to Xbox, but even if it did, would anyone care? And I mean, that's a fair take. I would care because I like Lego games. I like Horizon as an IP, and a lot of people don't. That's fine. But I would care, and I would gladly buy it. And you know what? Again, it's done, folks. It's literally completed for Xbox. That's not a thought. That's not a theory. That is factual. I talked to someone who knows for a fact that is literally done. So that's going to be. It could be the first one. I think it's going to be Spider-Man, and I think if you just take a look at what happened yesterday, there was an announcement, a strategic partnership with Virtuos, who just did the Oblivion remake, and let's call it a spade. It's got 9 million players in just a pinch over 3 months. The original banger on the 360 and PS3 only had 9.6 million lifetime players. Think about that for a second. That's how big this IP is. And that is how well it was done. And I think that strategic partnership, how quickly they get started on it and finished, I don't know because I'm not a developer. But I would imagine that's going to be for some of the stuff that they have. Maybe it's for older IP. Maybe it's like trying to bring forward the Sly Cooper collection or the Jack and Daxter collection or something like that. Yes, please. I will definitely gladly play that on Xbox because it's not going to be PlayStation exclusive. That's going to launch as a multi-plat. And the reason why it will is because of how well Oblivion is doing on PlayStation literally right now. But let's get into Korkenstein, what Nate the Hate had to say. Again, there are people who we don't name names here on this show still in their feelings, still trying to like literally carve out specific sentences, put it together. This is like a Sherlock Holmes mystery that we're working with. Like they're cutting sentences out of each paragraph to fit a narrative about how it's not happening. And folks, I mean, listen, maybe people don't have reading comprehension like I do, and I'm trained, to read things and understand them a different way that many people are, because I did that. That's what was part of my job. It is what it is, man. They are going third party. Are they going full slate third party? I kind of think that they are. How long they get there before everything is on there? It could be 3 years, 5 years, but listen, ladies and gentlemen, all it takes is one. Helldivers is selling very well right now. If Spider-Man launches on Xbox, I am telling you, it is going to chart on Xbox. Bless you. And it is going to sell 5 million copies. It's Spider-Man. Let's get your thought on the post from Nate the Hate. Again, whether you take him or you leave him, he does know his stuff and he is well connected. And he's not saying anything that's breaking news. I could literally come out and say the same thing. Oh, there's going to be more PlayStation games going. It's just common sense. But coming from him, it's a little bit more pointed because he does have connections and he does know people in the business. Let's get your thoughts on this changing, gaming space for Sony.
Yeah, I mean, I also like how you tapped into your kind of like Ric Flair, where you were like goalpost moving, tap dancing, ice skating.
I gotta start doing the strut.
Yeah, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. I like that. Yeah, it's silly, guys. You got it. The name of the game, and you can ask anyone this that works in the industry. Casual consumers are the biggest part of the industry. They're your biggest consumer base. That's who you market to. You want to know why? We'll probably talk about this later with Battlefield. You want to know why Call of Duty adds Beavis and Butthead and all these other characters and stuff? It's not for the hardcore gamers. It's for people that are fans. It's same thing with Fortnite. They do the same thing. They get popular pop culture IPs that resonate with casual gamers, casual fans of the show, hardcore fans of the show, people, things like that. It's the casual consumer base is what they're aiming for. When you have something like The Last of Us, which is now an HBO hit sensation, even my parents watched The Last of Us. That's how big it got, and they had no idea it was a game, and they absolutely loved it. When you're when you're doing stuff like that, that's your new market now, and it's going to make sense. People push back on me as well. The Last of Us will come to Xbox more than likely. There's such a huge casual following behind that game. It doesn't make any sense why they would be like, nah, too many people like this game, we're not going to sell it. We have 30 plus million people that might buy this game on this consumer base, but no, we got to stay strong behind this plastic box. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to sell to the casual consumer. If we learn anything when it comes to Spider-Man, look at what happened when the Insomniac leak came out. Their margins were kind of low compared for what that, and their royalties they were paying, the licensing, the money's being taken off. Every place, that bundle that they had, the money being taken off, every bundle sold, all of that stuff factored in, and they even ballooned their budget because of that. Their margins were low. And they're going to look at that and be like, well, how can we get these margins higher? You sell on a different ecosystem. You open up your ecosystem. You put your games on other platforms. And they tried with PC. I don't know the PC numbers. I don't know how well they did. But you still have, like I said, 35, 40 million consoles out there for Xbox. Why wouldn't they try and even get 10% of that? That's my math is horrible. 4 million? Would that be?
I mean,
why wouldn't they try and get that market share? Go ahead.
Check this out. Let me add some numbers to your for context here. Let's just say Insomniac helps Nixxes do this port, and it's the port that came to the PS5 in the form of Spider-Man 2018 Remastered and Miles Morales. It's a 2-pack. They sell it on Xbox, not Game Pass. They sell it on Xbox for $70. If they only move 1 million copies, and I think that is preposterous. Again, it's Miles, it's Spider-Man, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. People would line up to get it. I'd be one of them.
100%. And you bring up a great point. It's porting. They're not rebuilding this because a bunch of people are like, why would they waste the money? They're not going to they're not making a whole new game.
Right.
The reason why they port is because the return of investment, the ROI, is significantly cheaper to port than it is to start from the ground up, where they're re-recording voice lines, getting mocap redone, redoing assets, rebuilding levels from the ground up. They're not doing any of that. They're not making a brand new game. All they're doing is taking what they've already have and optimizing it and porting it for another platform. That's not asset recreation for the most part, unless they're doing like a major remaster, kind of like what Virtuosos did with the Oblivion remake. That's definitely something that's a total kind of ground up rebuilt, and that probably was still already using assets that they've and audio, and they had to record some new stuff. But even then, that's not building a brand new game with new code and things like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff that actually goes into these development, these games. And that's why it's porting, is because the ROI is a lot better because you're not wasting that much resources. You can have a small team and bring something like masterful, like the Oblivion remake. So yeah, I like I said, we've talked about it. I heard the same thing like 3 weeks ago. It's already done. Lego Horizon, sitting waiting. It would just be stupid for PlayStation to have their pride. What company is going to put their pride over profits? What company is going to sit there and, like I said earlier, it's PlayStation brand and we got to stand up for our pony brethren, and we're going to miss out on millions and millions and millions of dollars, especially during a slow generation where our first party output has been pretty low, where we don't have very many live service games bringing in reoccurring income, reoccurring revenue. They don't have a lot of that. I mean, who knows? I mean, we could even go down the path, maybe the Xbox games are selling better because PlayStation has no games right now. That could also be another point, that why they're taking off is because, we're gamers. People want to play games, and right now PlayStation doesn't have them. That could be another thing. But I mean, whatever it is, PlayStation needs to figure out how they can increase their MAUs, which is the monthly active users. They are in a decline. That's the thing. I got into the argument with that one guy. They are up overall, but they're seeing a steady drop off because they haven't had a lot that came out. It was just Astrobot, and then that's kind of it. So they are seeing a decline in MAUs, and you don't want that. As many times as people have said, Xbox has been dead, and they're we got Paris in the chat. Buy a PS5. Xbox is dead.
There he is, Mr. Troll himself. I love it.
The MAUs and live service is what's kept Xbox going. It's not exclusive. It's not hardware sales. Yeah, they matter, but they're not the revenue driver that those MAUs are. You need reoccurring revenue, and that's live service. That's subscription service. And that's what Xbox has. And that's why they've always been growing and growing and growing. And now they're into this just beast of a company that they are at Xbox, with all these games and studios behind them, because they had that reoccurring revenue. They had the live service, they have the multiplayer, and they have the MAUs, and they keep growing every year over year. And that's what PlayStation wants to get in. And that's why they're going to go multi-plat. So you guys can fight it as much as you want. It's gonna happen. Now, I don't think, will they make God of War? Probably not. I mean, unless there's a big I know there's a TV show coming out for it, but I don't think God of War. I mean, I think they'll still have some tentpole titles that will stay exclusive. That makes sense.
I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Hashtag no red lines.
You could be right. Maybe once they see it and they start seeing like, oh man, we're just killing it on Xbox right now.
Yes.
Kay Asante and I had the same conversation like months ago. that the more that Xbox invades the PlayStation space, the worse it is for PlayStation right now.
Yeah.
Because, and look, it turned out to be true, because now there are 6 out of 10 games that are in the top 10 for PlayStation. That's bad for PlayStation. That's people, they all championed it. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, finally people are buying Xbox games, and PlayStation's getting 30% back. That's operating costs for the most part, to put it on there, to fund it, to do all that stuff. It's, they may make some revenue from it, but it's not going to be the same revenue as if they had the 70% that they're getting back from that title being sold. They're not getting that unless they port to another, ecosystem. So that's just what it is. People can fight it all they want. It's coming. It's going to happen. Money talks, and your little pony pride isn't going to save PlayStation, and no exec is going to turn down millions and millions of dollars, because they want a console war. The console wars have been dead. They've always been dead, and they've never really mattered as much as they did. For me, it was something that the media just kind of portrayed and pushed out. The gaming media there, that was like console sales, and it turned out it wasn't that important at the time, maybe, but not anymore. But people still use it as a narrative for some reason. It's really, really weird. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Get used to it, guys. PlayStation games are coming to Xbox.
I mean, look, Crispy Bomb, I want to bring you in, but I want to set up these dominoes for a second, right? Like, Korkenstein brought up a lot of great points about why Sony is going to do this. And I just want to put this for context, because obviously I'm all about evidence-based conversation. If there is one thing that Sony finds themselves behind the 8 ball for, it's the fact that they lost a lot of money on studios and games that they were making that they're no longer making. Right? The most egregious one is Concord. And I'm not saying it to be a jerk. I'm saying that was a $400 million bath that they can't make money on. Now, if you want to take it and kind of just pause for a second and just look back, there was an investment in Bungie for $3.6 billion. That was a knee-jerk reaction to what Xbox and Microsoft was doing with Activision. And as we know, as the story's been told multiple times, they were expected to come in and be the savior for this new ideology of games as a service. And what wound up happening? What is the one particular one that just jumps off the page for everybody? It's The Last of Us Online that got canceled. Like, the way the story goes is Bungie was like, yeah, that's not going to make any money. And they canceled it. And a lot of people were waiting on that game. And that, I think, still could have made money for them. But apparently Bungie said no. Now, this is where you get into, well, who's going to save the savior? Because Bungie finds themselves in a really bad position, right? Marathon, that game is cursed. Like, everything that they have had with that game has been one rake step after another. And the last one was the stealing of the art assets. And it wasn't just one artist, it was 3, at least 3 that I know of. That's bad news, man. So that game was so poor, so poorly put together, it's been delayed until 2026. Now, again, take it with a grain of salt. There was a story that was floating around. I can't confirm it, but again, take it with a grain of salt, that because of the delay and the cancellation of these games, it was ultimately going to cost Sony Corp $1.2 billion in loss. If they don't have any first-party games to sell, and they don't have any more games outside of Gran Turismo, which is a gas game, and that's doing well for them. MLB The Show was in the top 10 most paid for. That's doing well for them. But if that's the only ones that they have, how are they going to make revenue if they don't have any of their first-party bangers coming out, right? I mean, the closest one that we know is Ghost of Yotai. It's probably going to do well. I mean, I'm going to buy it. I don't know how many people in this chat are going to buy it. That's fine. But Crispy, with all of the loss, with the poor investment in Bungie, with Microsoft just making bank on their own store, it only makes sense that what Nate the Hate is saying is going to become a stark reality. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, I mean, first of all, I feel like people ignore the fact that, you know, what Cork said, you know, they're publicly traded. So, you know, those numbers, like you can even hear they have it posted somewhere. I listened to a few people that posted it. Satya's reporting those numbers to the investors. And when you do that, if they skew those numbers like unsurmountably, like, you know, to try to get more investment, that's actually illegal, at least in our country. I'm not sure about other countries. So when you have those numbers and you see a decline, and this is what a Sony person, maybe they put one, you know, they bought one stock. Guess what? They can be a part of that. Okay. So like, you know, they can find out these numbers on their own ears, hearing them, and look at it and say, how are they making more money than us? How is their stock just hit the $4 trillion mark? And they're giving us some of their exclusives, and they're doing all these things that are just weird and not a part of the, what I call the OG console war thought process of Sega versus Nintendo and PlayStation versus both of them, and all of these things. And then now PlayStation versus Xbox, and Nintendo kind of just chills. These are things that you have to realize, that they look at that and say, well, how are they doing this? We need to figure this out. And I mean, the easiest IP to go really find out, and I'm going to be honest with you, it depends. And I think they already have enough numbers from Helldivers 2 to say this thing is going to sell well. We need to realize that maybe being just full on exclusive and not taking some of these older games and porting them over is illogical to our investors. And when that happens, you start seeing the posts we had, you know, earlier, which was a meltdown. I mean, you guys, I've seen Xbox guys melt down and then they switch to PlayStation and now they're MIA. Okay, missing in action. All right. Maybe you could find some of them. You know who I'm talking about, 2 of them at least. So I need them to understand that no matter what you do, eventually, like, you're going to have to go to Nintendo. Okay, because that's the only one that's probably they're gonna stay pat for another 10 years probably. Their margins are high, their development cost is low, they have a blueprint, and in the same vein, PlayStation is ballooning. Okay, their budgets are absurd. Just when you hear the Concorde or even the Spider-Man, you know, the numbers that came out for what that costs. These are movie budgets. And, you know, you're not talking about selling a movie ticket. You're talking about selling a $70 game. And, you know, the one saving grace I could say is that, like, a game like Blade, which is a Marvel IP, I think is going to go to PlayStation. That's why they didn't say anything about any consoles or anything like that. But in that aspect, Marvel's probably looking at Sony like, hey, you guys, you don't own these rights. Can you make us some money on this end? And they might feel considerably obliging to that, because guess what? They want to be a part of the MCU. So these are negotiations we have no clue about. But if you really look at the numbers and look at what's going on, regardless of what Microsoft has done and the layoffs and everything else, there was bad news for weeks. Okay. You know, we weren't saying, hey, like, this is the way it should be. No, this is not the way it should be. You should not be making money and laying people off. We don't like that. Now, we understand that maybe it's involving AI, but let's be honest here. AI is not where it will be in another 5 years. So maybe chill out with that. And, you know, we saw that rumor about another 1,000. Like, can you just stop? Because realistically, you can afford it, Microsoft. Let's be honest. on the latter note, Sony can't afford it. And that's why they're closing studios. I mean, who knows what Marathon's going to do? I truly believe, I mean, Battlefield and COD, Black Ops 7 coming out, and then you have GTA. When are you going to release that game? Because I'm going to tell you right now, multi-plat or not, it is not hitting anybody. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's like, hey, when is it coming out? I haven't seen nothing. And you know me, Boom, I don't block everybody. I talk to PlayStation guys. Some of them are very cool. They'll throw a little shade. We have a good joke here and there. But, I have a few that I appreciate. And, I do look to them to see how the narrative's going. And right now it's not good. And they're infighting. I mean, I saw a small subset. We had our conversations. We did. I was one of those that, hey, like if we're going to see games that I want to see, like Gears, do it. You know what I mean? Just do it and, let them experience it. And I think, at the end of the day, that's probably the same thought process they're starting to get to in Sony. But we're talking about, like the original Spider-Man 2018, maybe Miles Morales is added in. And it's like, they might charge $70 for both of them. And they'll see what they make. Now, you have a well-priced game like Helldivers 2 at $40, different story. And it's a gas game. Okay, but they keep saying gas games, and I'm like, dude, what do you have? When's Marathon?
Thank you so much for saying that, because
when's Marathon coming out? Yes. Is Fair Games going to even exist anymore? You cancel the Twisted Metal, okay? Which would have, why would they cancel that when you have a hit TV show?
Which
I just don't understand.
Second season's coming, right? So,
well, it's already out, and I'm hearing rave reviews. Okay, people are loving it, and I'm like, what are you doing? And we would say the same. Like, if they don't do something with Fallout before the second season comes out, or at least around that time, I'd give them a month or so. Even if it's Fallout 3 remaster, whatever, do something with it, because you got this moment to take it all in, and the way the acting and everything else in the Fallout series, I doubt they're going to mess this up. I really doubt it, and that's where I say, I look at this and I say, Sony is more of like a TV company. It's just so weird that they're not looking at it like that. And then you cancel, a co-op Spider-Man game. You know what I mean? Like, you cancel these IPs that have made you money, but adding a new element to it, and saying gas or not. I mean, some of them don't even sound like full-on gas games. And I'm just like, it's okay to have some multiplayer elements in your game, Sony. You don't have to just go full on single player. You used to add some multiplayer in some of your games. I mean, factions, why did you cancel that? I mean, that pissed off a lot of actual PlayStation guys, not stands that are going to talk out of it, to actually play the games. They were mad about that because they thought that was a really good gameplay loop. They enjoyed it, and you probably would have grabbed some new people. These are things that they're doing. They're misstepping. They're going all the way one way, and now they're going all the way back the other way. And it's like, okay, for once, you got to say, Microsoft, hey, we got some single player, we got some multiplayer single player, we got some full-on multiplayer. We got all the stuff you could want, okay? And it's a lot of it, and all of it can be played on Game Pass, okay? And if it's not, you already got Game Pass, you got our games, why not go buy a Helldivers, okay? It's a model that is going to substantiate, and it's clearly growing, you know what I mean? Like, right now, we're looking at a, up to 50% increase from the last numbers shown. So what are we talking about? I don't understand. And this is where I get on a rant. Why do people say it's unsustainable? Have you not seen all of these darn subscription models continue? Okay. Even the ones you thought were going to die, you know what I mean? Like Peacock or, Paramount. They still keep going. Why do they keep going? They have to be making money somewhere, people. Okay. And to think that, Game Pass is just going to destroy the industry is dumb. when you have a game like Ready or Not being in one of the top of the list. Well, who does that benefit? That benefits the smaller developer, doesn't it? Because guess what? All the Xbox games are already on Game Pass. So those subscribers are like, hey, I could, why not pay that money? Why not try it out? So who's it hurting? It's not hurting anybody. Stop acting like it's going to like destroy the world. Maybe Sony should consider something like that. Okay, maybe even if they go to 20, if the premium quality go to $25, see what happens. They need to change something because it ain't working right now, and you keep seeing it. And then you look at the narrative now. Oh, they're going to bring games up. Well, what else are they going to do?
Exactly.
They're releasing one game a year. They told you that. Okay, so what? Everything else can be a third party, timed exclusive deal. I mean, the timed exclusive now is going to be, Xbox will port over a 5-year-old game over. There you go. Okay, 5 years later, you get it. We sold more than all the games you got. Oh, how about that? Oh, that's interesting. So it's a bad narrative. Trust me, like we even had some in the chat already, just they're crashing out. They don't know what to do. They don't want to listen, okay, which sucks because we try to tell them. I mean, even BitCloud tried to tell them years ago. Okay, like this is happening. I mean, BitCloud's got more trophies than probably everybody in this chat combined. I wouldn't even doubt it. Okay, and he's just told them, and he like people are like, oh, he's just agreeing with them. No. He's told them without us involved. Okay, he's been on this show before. All right, but when we're not involved, he's still telling you it's gonna happen. And it's okay in my eyes, even if I was a Sony fan, to say, okay, a 5, 7, 8, 10-year-old game, why not port it over? Why not, help fund the new games that are coming? That's just my thought process.
No, I mean, it's a great thought process because what's interesting? If let's just say, for instance, Spider-Man is the first game that's coming over to Xbox, it's going to sell like gangbusters. It just really is. I don't care what anyone says. There's going to be people here like, well, I already played it on PC. You saw that Christopher Dring, or another guy that went into witness protection. That guy's nowhere to be found. And if you remember, just a week ago, when this news broke, before all of the craziness, he said, and I quote, that why would you, if a port was going to come, it would go to Switch 2 first. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so the Switch 2, great console. I play it every single day. Donkey Kong is kind of edging to my game of the year. It's amazing, ladies and gentlemen. But there are only 5 million consoles out there. So what you're saying is you're going to try and port this over to Nintendo's brand with 5 million consoles and ignore the 35 million Xbox Series X and S consoles. This is why he's not running Sony, because he'd run it into the ground. And again, another guy completely absent from the conversation, nowhere to be found, witness protection, wanted posters, there's a wanted poster up for him, and there's also a missing poster. I don't know which is worse, but they're both up on milk cartons, so get ready. Buzz Belvedere, Korkenstein and Chris Baum really knocked it out of the park, but I want to get your thoughts on this because Nate the Hate, whether you, again, I really want to kind of focus on this, whether you believe him or you don't. He is not the first one to talk about this, but he is certainly a more credible insider that is out there, or leaker, whatever you want to call him. He does have connections. Has he gotten it wrong? Yes, he absolutely has. But if you just look at his track record, he's gotten it right more than he's gotten it wrong. And again, your mileage is going to vary on whether or not you trust him. That's fine. But him coming out and saying this, I read the replies. The crash outs were actually happening in real time. Like it is completely wild to me that, and I saw someone actually say this. I wish I would have actually copied down the person's name that said this. It almost seems as if the ponies, meaning the toxic MFers of the interwebs that are man children that rep for Sony's brand, would rather see Sony go out of business than try and make money on IP that would actually sell. Because again, these are older IPs. Sony's in the business of making new money. They could take old IP and make new money. It's very easy. And what's interesting, and I think the reason why it is going to happen in abundance, is because all of the old IP that we're talking about, the Returnals, the God of Wars, the Uncharted collection, right? Last of Us 1 and 2, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, these games have already been ported to PC by Nixxes. The only one that Nixxes did not do, from what I understand, is God of War. That was another studio. I don't know who the studio was, but God of War was somebody else. They can take an IP and strategically, by the way, place it where The Last of Us Season 3, drop it. It sells on Xbox, right? They've already sold it 9 times to people on PlayStation and on PC. You need new money. No one's going to buy The Last of Us Part 1 17. No one's going to do that. But someone on Xbox who doesn't have it, or I have all those games, and I would gladly buy them again because I'm a gamer. Let's get your thoughts on the report from Nate the Hate.
Where to start, man? It's funny. Well, before I get into the Nate the Hate, it's funny that PlayStation people bought Xbox games that they used to badmouth all these years as being low quality or crap or whatever. They bought more of those titles than they did their own first party stuff. Like the only one that even tracked halfway decent from first party was MLB. And maybe it's because they decided, because a lot of them tend to have Xbox and they wind up having Game Pass as well, because they are the first ones to complain when that dollar deal went away. Since MLB was no longer in Game Pass, I guess they had to buy it on their PlayStations this year. So that's the only reason why that probably even tracked. But all jokes aside, it's funny seeing this in real time. Nate the Hate has gotten a few things right. I think the one thing he got wrong as far as timing, I think it may come down to, at the minute, it may have been right with the whole Starfield thing, because I think he was one that was saying that Starfield was coming before Forza Horizon 5. But I have no doubt that Starfield's coming. It's just that it's not at the time frame that he had originally projected. But all in all, on the Sony front of things, he's been more accurate than a lot of the Sony insiders that said none of this would happen. I mean, even their devs at one point, like MLB, way back in the day, said, "Oh, it'll never come to Xbox," and lo and behold, that eventually happened. Insomniac even said Spider-Man will never come to Xbox, and we'll see with probably a later this year announcement when that happens. So I guess some people on social media will be eating crow. But yeah, I would say anything that they've already ported over to PC is on the to-do list for Xbox, and it's probably not that much more effort as far as making an Xbox version of that game. The PC ports are bigger, I guess, transition from the way Sony code is typically set, and Xbox and PC code is not that much different. There are some differences, but not to the extent that it would take a team more than a few months or so to finish things up, or to bug test and things like that. But Lego Horizon, I believe that's one of those that's, like you said, on the shelf and ready to go. It'll be a matter of timing. They might wait it out a year, which I don't know when it came out on Switch and stuff, but it'll probably be like a year out, and they'll put it on Xbox. But I'm under the impression, if Sony has been watching Xbox, and it seems like they have, and they're moving like Xbox in some regards, the first one that we see come over might wind up being Ghost of Tsushima. What better way to have Xbox players, possibly that may have already, like myself, already have a PS5, get hype for Ghost of Yote, than to have, Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, I know I've already played Ghost of Tsushima. Would I double dip? More than likely. But it would be a way to kind of generate buzz and open up the doors to newly found, players for that series. And maybe they go that extra mile and pick up the sequel, whether, they have to wait some time for it to come to Xbox or PC, or they pick up a PlayStation 5, or they may already have one. So I think that one might be the earlier of the ports. Last of Us, if they can time it with season 3, would make the most sense. Whether you bundle 1 and 2, or you do some sort of like director's cut collection or something like that, I think that would make the most sense as far as selling that to Xbox players, because other than that chronological thing that they're doing as far as the update or maybe a repackaging, I don't think they could actually sell The Last of Us again to PS5 or PlayStation owners until the PS6 comes out, obviously. But yeah, I think they've beaten that dead horse at this point. But hey, selling on Xbox. I mean, if the game ran on PS4, it should be able to run on the Switch too. So we'll see if that gets over to the Switch 2 as well. What better way to play it portable without having to stream it from your PS5 on a PS Portal? That would be, another avenue that they can take. But as far as their red, or I guess you could say blue line to some extent, I think Astrobot might be that one. And it's not that they won't ever port it. I think they probably won't get around to it, because even though it seems like it'd be a perfect fit for a Switch 2, I think a lot of Nintendo owners would purposely boycott that game just for it being not really a knockoff of some of the Mario mechanics, but I don't think it would do as well as a first-party Nintendo title over there. And then the only other one that I can see, and it's because that developer is slow, and I don't know if they would allow or help Nixxes in the process of porting it, would be Gran Turismo. And I don't know if it would do all that well on Xbox either. Just for the fact that we've been inundated with Forza Motorsport for so long, and it's had its times where it surpassed Gran Turismo in some of its features and all of the modes and things like that. But at this point, with Motorsport kind of winding down its support as far as the current model, could GT7 come over to Xbox? Sure, but if they haven't put it on PC yet, I don't know. I could see if they do decide to spin that back up for PC, possibly it coming to Xbox. But I think it makes more sense for them to put that game on PC, just for the fact that from a sim racer standpoint, considering the mod community for things like Assetto Corsa, it would make the most sense for them to kind of supplant Assetto Corsa as the most moddable sim racer out there. Just short of having a subscription to iRacing or something like that. But Polyphony, they can't even give you more than 2 or 3 cars a month type of deal, or at least these past few months it's been 3 or 4 at max, compared to what Horizon does and what Motorsport has done for decades at this point. But yeah, it's rather interesting just seeing how the copium, the I guess the clips, we're not seeing as many clips of Xbox influencers these days, because a lot of them were right as far as saying, oh, this will eventually happen. And they used to laugh and make fun. Oh, you'll never see these PlayStation games. And then the whole, Xbox Ally came out and they're like, well, Sony will block it.
Yeah.
Hey, did y'all ever think that maybe because Sony knew they couldn't block it without repercussions from Steam, that they were like, screw it. Why just focus on the 30% that we'll get through Steam? Or the 70% cut through Steam on a game that's probably already sold, as opposed to a new sale, when they could just port it directly over to Xbox and get that 70% on possibly new sales for that game. Just a thought. And along with a lot of other things, the fact that, Xbox games are taking up most of their spots on their top 10 sold games. That whole Trojan horse thing that we talked about that y'all laughed at, yeah, it seems like it's actually a thing. I mean, if only MLB is charting, that's the only game that Sony is getting 100% of the revenue from you guys over on PlayStation. Everything else, they're only getting 30%. So what better way for them to try and recoup some of those lost dollars on other customers outside their ecosystem? Remember what Phil said a long time ago.
Do you mean this Trojan horse?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely shows itself now as far as it looks like that was the plan all along. But back to what Phil said a while ago, when people were dogging them about the only 4 games kind of thing, he
Yeah.
said you can either monetize your current customer base, which Sony has been good at. That's why they've been
Mhm.
selling you remasters and remakes and getting you to buy the same content over and over again. And that helps them finance their future games or sequels or what have you. Or you can monetize other customers, meaning find people outside of your current
Yes.
ecosystem. So with Xbox, they already had that with PC, and then they decided to put some games on PlayStation and on Switch. So that gives them more customers that they can monetize outside of their ecosystem. It's good that Sony has now learned that they can do the same by putting games on Xbox and on Nintendo. That's the way you don't, one, squeeze too much of the juice out of your current customer base, and you find new customers. So it's great that they finally woke up and see the potential and don't leave those dollars on the table. I mean, especially things like Days Gone. That's a game that we should have already had a Days Gone 2 had that been greenlit years ago. But with that studio not having anything recent that they've produced other than being like a support studio to some extent for like Naughty Dog and such, what better way to get money out of a game that's just sitting there collecting dust? Like, real talk. If you're a PlayStation guy, chances are you've already bought all the PlayStation titles that you're going to buy that
Yep.
are the PS4 generation titles. Are you going to go out and rebuy Spider-Man? I mean, maybe if they do a bundle deal for Spider-Man 1 and 2 with Miles Morales, maybe you buy it again. Who knows? I mean, some of you bought Horizon Zero Dawn again, but all of that aside, that's you've more than likely, if you wanted those games, you've already purchased them. On Xbox, if we didn't already have a PS5, we couldn't purchase those games. But if they put them on Xbox, we can now purchase those games. So more money to the studios. The ones that you famously said you should support, which you guys obviously weren't enough of a support to keep everything exclusive on that box. But hey, I look forward to the clips to see what the comments will look like in that regard, because when people are right about stuff, it makes a lot of people kind of disappear and go into witness protection. Like, there's a lot of milk cartons with PlayStation influencers on them right about now, but it is what it is. I've rambled enough.
No, this is I mean, great opening segment. This was over an hour, and again, I figured this was going to be one of the bigger segments of today's show because it's big news, ladies and gentlemen. And again, we only have Helldivers 2 as being the first big one. Pause to come over to Xbox that is launching on 25 days from now, right alongside Gears of War Reloaded on PlayStation. I mean, it's what a weird world we're living in, but it's a world in gaming that's ever changing. Xbox has taken the lead. Now they took the arrows, sure, they absolutely took all of the arrows. And you know what? Ultimately, like, look, you heard from people like Jez Corden of Windows Central, originally thinking that this move to multiplat would hurt them with their fan base. And he actually put out a rebuttal the other day, when I'm paraphrasing, I don't have it in front of me, regarding this was ultimately the right move for Microsoft, and it's the right move for the industry as a whole. You can, stamp your feet and pout and throw a tantrum all you want, but the bottom line is these corporations want to make money, and they want. And again, like I said, Sony finds them, and that's the real conversation here. If you just take both Xbox and PlayStation, they find themselves in very unique positions. Xbox has 30 plus studios. They have 40 projects in development, and they have officially gone third party, meaning that you're probably going to get more day and date games than you've ever seen before. Now, there's a rumor that next year, the 2 day and date games, and I think this is reported on, Destin Legary did a report on it, and I think Jez might have did a report on it as well, where the rumor, and it's a rumor, that day and date would be Fable and State of Decay 3, right? If that happens, who cares? Like, I used to care about shit like that. I don't care about that anymore because it's out of my control, and it's not hurting me as a gamer. I'm still getting it in Game Pass. I still have the ability to buy the game, with the upgrade the $27 upgrade to the $100 edition, that's probably the route I'm going to go. Sony, on the other hand, finds themselves in an uncomfortable position because you got to remember in the 2018, 2019, 2020, that 3 block, I consistently talk about that year was a dominant bunch of years for Sony. They released multiple bangers in every one of those years. And again, if the single player stuff isn't your bag, I'm not going to fight you on it, but it was definitely my bag. So as a PlayStation fan, which I again, they're number 3 for me on the list, but I'm still a fan nonetheless. I bought all those games, beat all of those games, enjoyed all those games. But now we're in 2025. Sony did a massive shift to get into the gas games. They made some really poor investment choices. They lost a lot of money, and they don't have a roadmap. And on top of all of that, they're seeing their direct competitor eat their lunch on their own store. Folks, they have to change. So the unique position for Xbox is that they're winning. They're making money hand over fist because the numbers came out and proved everyone wrong that said Xbox was dying, Game Pass is unsustainable, it's not profitable, Xbox got no games. All of that's hogwash. No apologies from anybody, though. On Sony's side, the rumor is they're about to take or have already taken a $1.2 billion bath and all of the lost revenue from games that they canceled. Listen, if a game has been in development for 4 years and it's canceled, that means that you're not making money on 4 years of paying the people to make this game. That literally happened to the Days Gone developer, right? They haven't put out a new game since 2019, and that was Days Gone. What do you do with that studio? You put them on to help make the port over to Xbox. That's what you do with that studio, because now you could make new money with old IP. And that's the unique position Sony finds themselves. They're gonna have to tap into their old IP to make new money. Otherwise, they're gonna be in a bigger pickle. That's just the bottom line. Console sales, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care if you have 100 million out there, you're only making 10 or 15 bucks per console. You're not really making that much money. You're just not. Sorry. But you know what, gentlemen? We still got to get into one of the biggest events yesterday, and that is Battlefield 6. Oh my God, it looks so good. But we got to catch up on Super Chats, and we got quite a few of them. So we already read Will's first one. Day Reezy, generous friend of the program, who's been a channel member for 8 months. I said 8 years, so that'd be something else. Thank you so much for Day. He says, the coping, goalpost moving, the tap dancing just doesn't stop. Some dumb ponies are always trying to ice skate uphill. Backhand boomstick 2025. I like that. I got to get. I don't want to steal the thunder from Slow Mo Backslap because his icon is amazing, legendary. But shout out to him. J Mac in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says you have to respect Sony for now, understanding that the Xbox blueprint is printing cash and also leaving this silly console war behind. Hashtag graybeards. Yeah, they're leaving it behind kicking and screaming because they're as traditional as they come. I am sure that the reason why there was such a switch in staff, meaning like, all of the people that are no longer with Sony, that they're all the old guard and all of the new people that are running PlayStation. And Herman Holtz is probably one of the last ones, right? The new school wants to make money. The old school, which mostly has been ushered out the door, wants to keep games exclusive. I mean, that's just the way it is. Unfortunately, that's not the business anymore. Brett Bingham brings up a fantastic point, and this actually could be what happens. After dropping a very generous $10 super chat, Brett goes on to say, Spider-Man's anniversary is September 7th. Plenty of time for an announcement, let's say after Helldivers 2's release. Hiroki Totoki and PlayStation executives are going to break ponies in slowly to a new reality. That's very interesting. And again, I spoke to 2 developers that I know personally, and the way it was explained to me is in order to port something like Spider-Man, the remastered edition that's been ported to PC would take about 4 months, and even quicker if they fast tracked it. Because you got to remember, you're just changing button prompts. That's what you're doing. You're changing the controller layout. That's all you're doing. So speaking to 2 different devs about that particular game, 4 to 6 months is what I was told. 4 months if you fast track it. And that line kind of lines up, right? I mean, and this, I want to just say this before we continue reading the super chats. This isn't because of Forza Horizon selling. These decisions were made months ago, maybe 6 months ago. This wasn't a knee-jerk, oh shit, we got to do something different. This is something that they started talking about at the beginning of the year, and they did talk about it because Hiroki Totoki said it, and everyone was like, no, that's not what he means, Boom. You're being a fanboy. I remember. I mean, I got the receipts. I don't normally pull them like Crispy, but I keep them, bottled up just in case. J-Mac drops an additional very generous $5 super chat, and he says PlayStation decided that selling their product directly to Xbox is a better deal than getting a percentage from Steam. #Graybeard. Yeah, brother, that is the truest of truths right there. I think they realize that when this new handheld comes out later this year, Sony's not blocking anything, man. They're just not. So people would buy it from Steam. Why buy it from Steam when you can, when you just literally said it? PlayStation's like, we'll sell directly to the customer, right? Right to the customer, and they'll buy it. And Xbox will get 30% for doing nothing, right? Isn't that something we heard, ladies and gentlemen? I'm throwing it back in your face. Well,
also,
yeah.
well, basically, think about this. Not everybody's going to buy the ROG. You know what I mean? Like, I might not buy it just because.
Dude.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's like you have these games that are sitting there. Why not just do it now? You have plenty of people that have the Series S or X, or, I mean, some of these games could probably run on the One X. You know what I mean? If somebody has it, but it's just one of those weird things that, like, that there's still this. We haven't gotten into the new gen of what Xbox is doing, so why not start porting them over straight to Xbox and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, a great point. Great point of view. So let's continue with super chats. We have Oscar Wheat in the chat. Oscar, great to see you here, brother. And thank you so much for the generosity. He drops, ladies and gentlemen, a very generous $5 super chat. He says, I got a strong feeling, guys, we're going to see a Sony exclusive or see a Sony exclusives, maybe it's exclusives, holiday this year. I don't think they're going to just sit back and let Xbox take over the store. I mean, look, they have, again, this is one of those in Sony's favor situations, right? They have games that are more than a year old. Hell, most of the games that we just all talked about are 5 years old. Maybe Spider-Man 2018 is 7 years old. So these games have already been ported. The work for the port has already been done. They simply have to do some button prompt changes and optimization to get it to run on Xbox. It's not that difficult. And again, I can't say because I'm not a developer, so I'm not even going to pretend to know. I mean, Korkenstein, you would know. How difficult would it actually be to take a game that's already been ported by Nixxes to PC and is running on Steam to then run on Xbox?
It would depend on what they used. If they used the GDK, not very hard at all. I mean, that's why Helldivers is coming, one, because it's live service, but two, I believe they used the GDK to make the game. So, I mean, that's basically Microsoft's game development kit. And what you do is, in order to incorporate the Xbox ecosystem, I believe you have to add the GDKX. And that adds the ecosystem, that adds, the stuff like that. So it shouldn't be too hard. I mean, there's still going to be some work around it that has to do it. So like for stuff like Spider-Man, Depends on how far they want to go with it. Like I said, if they want to start adding new assets or 4K assets, things like that, maybe 8 months to a year, 6 months to a year. You know, I definitely think we'll probably see Spider-Man probably within the next year if they are already working on it. Again, like I said, it depends on what they want to do. If they want to bundle in Miles Morales with it, if they want to, you know, kind of do some other stuff. Like I said, that Oblivion remake probably took well more than a year because of how much they did to it. That's probably been something that was in the works for a long, long time. But as far as like something for bringing Spider-Man, I would say probably 6 months to a year. Depends on the team, the size, all of that.
I mean, listen, I'm sure, and this is probably not a popular opinion, but again, because time is of the essence for Sony, so to speak, I would not be surprised if this is where they start investing, if they haven't already, into AI tools to make these ports quicker. I don't know if that's going to happen. It sounds like it would because every corporation wants to make money. AI is the new hotness, as the kids like to say. So maybe that helps them, you know, make it quicker. I don't know, but these ports are coming. How many ports this year? I don't know. It could be one really big one, and I cannot escape that it's going to be Spider-Man. And Brett brought up a great point. The anniversary is September 7th. Why not? Why not get that ported, or at least announce that it'd be coming at the end of the year, or maybe even the start of next year? Who knows? But it's going to be big news, and I'm going to take a lot of victory laps when that happens.
And I would say they've probably already started working on stuff, if I had to guess, because you mentioned it earlier, like these conversations for porting and all this stuff, this happens, you know, months in advance before it even happened. And I can tell you probably when these talks started happening is when Sea of Thieves hit PlayStation and they saw the MAUs for Xbox shoot through the roof. They saw the reoccurring revenue of people buying the game. Remember, it was like number one or something like that for a while. Or it was definitely up there. And then the transactions alone, the MTXs in that game are insane. So I'm pretty sure they saw the pretty penny Microsoft and Xbox were making off of one game coming to their platform, and that probably got the ball rolling. And their shareholders are wondering, why are they using us to make so much money?
Yeah, I mean, they're watching. Trust me, they're watching. King Webb in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat. He goes on to say, in all caps, the next acquisition incoming, people, let's talk. I mean, look, if they are primed and positioned and fiscally capable of now looking at something like a 2K and buying it. Now, I don't know if 2K is for sale, but I can tell you right now, if you own Call of Duty and Minecraft, you might as well effing own GTA. And it's not going to be exclusive. It's not an exclusive play. That would be in Game Pass. And all of those live service games with 2K basketball and everything else they got going on is exactly what Microsoft be looking. And again, maybe it's too big of a company. Maybe they look to the east. Maybe it is Sega. You know, who knows? But another acquisition, and some people seem to think that it's not gaming related. I would disagree 1,000%, simply because of the numbers that came out yesterday or the day before on Wednesday. Those numbers are ridiculous. 500 million MAUs. I mean, that's just sick, right? Nino Vistic, our generous friend, all the way from Hawaii. Kind sir, nice to see you. Aloha to you and the family. He has gifted one Double Barrel Gaming membership, as he's done so many times before. We super appreciate the generosity, brother. Hopefully you have an amazing weekend with the family. Freddie Fox in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat. And again, as I talked about this to open up the show, Shinobi's Art of Vengeance demo is fire. It's a must play. It is. Sega is back so bad. I mean, this is, as a Sega kid, and I love Nintendo, you know that, but I'm a diehard Sega guy. I have been since I was a kid. And to see all these, mind you, this is just tip of spear. Wait until Golden Axe and Jet Set Radio and virtual fight. I put out a tweet the other day. They need to remake Daytona. I was just playing that the other day, and again, it's delisted, but I own it, so it's in my collection. So good, so freaking good. And maybe one day, and I'm sure Fuzzy will appreciate this. Remember Sega GT in the arcades? Oh my God, such a great racer. Love to see that come back. We also have Gamer by Choice, who has also gifted one double barrel gaming membership. Salute to you, Gamer by Choice. Thank you so much for the support. We also have Sith Lord dropping a $2 super chat and says, Nintendo is increasing the price of the Switch 1 and the OLED soon. Really?
Yeah. From 350 to 400 for the OLED.
Holy crap. That is insane. Well, you know what that means? That means that my OLED that I've been saving, I went to GameStop and they're like, we'll give you $100. $100? Go F yourselves, GameStop. No, thank you. I just put it in storage. That's exactly what I did. So now maybe it'll boost the price. I can sell it and get like maybe 300 for it. But listen, I know we're a little long in the tooth today. Korkenstein, I know you stepped away for a hot second. Folks, we got to talk about Battlefield. Oh my God. What a couple of weeks the Battlefield 6 franchise has had. We saw the single player campaign that got everyone excited. But listen, let's call a spade a spade. People don't buy Battlefield for a single player. They just don't. Now I used to, because I played both. But people were waiting on the multiplayer, and my God, it looks. The one part that I watched a couple of times is when they dropped the C4, they blew out the floor, which is the ceiling, and started shooting down at the guy. Wow. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps, folks, because I'm a diehard Battlefield guy. I have been for years. Unfortunately for Battlefield, since the one that Korkenstein worked on, which was 4, it's kind of sucked. It's just not been really good. They've had Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 2142. They went to the past. They went to the future. They went back to the past. It's too much. It's too much. We want Modern Warfare. They delivered. Korkenstein, this is not going to be the biggest topic. It's going to be one of the smaller ones because we really kind of, sunk our teeth into the Nate the Hate report, which, again, there's a lot to talk about. But Korkenstein, let's get into Battlefield 6. I can say with full authority, as a diehard Battlefield fan for years, they're back in such a big way. Destructibility is at the front and of any conversation. If you got a tank, you can just take out a whole building, right? You got a grenade, got C4. Okay, so there is a lot to get into more specifically on what's happening with this Battlefield. And one of the things that I thought was brilliant is after playing Call of Duty, where you can take any weapon on any class and just go. Well, that's never been a Battlefield thing, right? You pick a class, it has a weapon, and you do your thing. They are returning to that, but they're also going to have a separate server for people that want to have that unlocked. I think that is really big. I actually got a quote here from David Serland, who has confirmed that at launch, if you like this system, both styles, lock and open weapons, will make it into the launch regardless of how the beta goes, meaning that they're going to put the beta is going to lock the weapon to the class, which is fine. It's a beta. But when it goes live, he says, it's not like this is a test where whatever you play more, we will choose. No, we will support both. Korkenstein, this is a big move for Battlefield. I absolutely love that they are open to traditionalists. And I don't know if you are one of them. I am not. I want to pick. Okay, and again, that's the other thing. My pushback with some of the slander that has been thrown onto Call of Duty. Look, folks, Call of Duty has gotten super wacky, right? Like, I am running around with Beavis and Butthead. I'm running around with a vampire chick. I'm running around with people playing as Nicki Minaj. I mean, listen, I don't care. It's not reality. It's a game. So I don't really care. I know there are a lot of people. Jez Corden, number one guy. He's like, this is just ridiculous. They've jumped the shark. It sucks. And he's entitled to his opinion. And he's not wrong. They have jumped the shark, but they're also trying to make money. And you know what? They got a lot of money from me, because do I buy every skin? No. There are some, specific ones, like the two I talked about to open up. There's one, like a biker with a skull mask. That's one of my faves. And another one that has like a steampunk futuristic look. That's you see him, he's got the gold gas mask. That's one of my favorite skins. I probably want to say that I bought about maybe 10, maybe even 15. And I dig them. I like the skins. Some of them are super wacky. The one that blows my mind is the smoked out lizard. Like, he's literally running around with a blunt and shooting people. Like, holy shit, who would have thought that was a reality? But that's real. The Seth Rogen one, ridiculous. And they even have the stupid laugh, his laugh, which I absolutely adore, right? Listen, Korkenstein, you said something very interesting. Both of these games can exist together, and they're going to have their fans. One's wacky, one's the traditional, military guy or gal. My pushback against the skins is there's only so much you can do with Jane and John Doe military guy gal, right? If they just all look the same, I'm not going to buy those skins. So they're going to have to get a little interesting. How interesting, I don't know. And based on some of the talk from the developer, it seems they're going to be grounded. They're probably not getting my money outside of me buying the game, which, by the way, I've already bought. Again, if you have EA, if you have Game Pass, you get 10% off. I got the $100 edition. It was $89. Go buy it now. Support the thing. But let's get your thoughts on Battlefield 6 multiplayer reveal from yesterday, dude.
Yeah, it looked amazing. And it just especially with the Limp Bizkit, like, give me something to break, and then like it just, things are exploding, buildings are falling down. Like you said, they shot, they blew up the C4 and started shooting down. It's just that was Battlefield, and they nailed it. I mean, that's something that people really, really wanted from I think it was 2042. The last one that they did, that they just kind of went over everyone's head, and they tried to, and I get it, you don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over, and then it gets played out, and then you start, you get a core base of fans that never want you to change, so then the game never adapts, and you never get that freshness feel again. And I get it. You want to go a different path. You want to branch out. You want to try new things. You want to keep things interesting. That's gaming. Sorry, 1 second. That's gaming. And I kudos to devs that try and do that and think of new ways to innovate. But unfortunately, there are just some IPs that you just can't get away from. Battlefield's one of those. They kind of went with the Call of Duty quick action Twitch, shooter, and at first, and it just didn't work. The whole modular weapon system, it just really didn't feel like Battlefield. And that's what, like I said, there's two different core fan bases there. Some people love Call of Duty because of the fast pace, the action. Some people like Battlefield because it's more strategic. I heard a couple of people say, they didn't like it because, they have to run, 70 miles, to get to something.
I was one of them.
Yeah. And that's fine. That's great. But that's, you also have vehicles that are different. That's why the maps are built, but they're massive set pieces. And it looks like that's what they're kind of going back to. It looks like they'll still have those crazy, like, intense close combat, quick action, kind of fights, but it seems like now it's more spread out. It just felt like Battlefield 4 while I was watching the trailers and stuff. And that's what I loved. And like I said, I worked on that game. And I absolutely loved it. So many great memories. I'm thinking of them now. There used to be, fun fact, there used to be this bug I got in charge of trying to find it. Every now and then when you would launch a missile from like a helicopter or a fighter pilot, there was these giant like oil, like smokestacks or something, or like poles. There was something in one of them. And the missile, I don't know why it was very hard to reproduce, but it would happen almost frequently. The missile would like not hit it, but like start spinning around it really fast. And that was a bug all the way until launch. For a while, but I guess it never really happened as much. I didn't see a lot of people talk about it, but yeah, it was a bug, and it would spin around this like oil stack really, really fast and never detonate. It was pretty funny. I spent like 3 weeks trying to reproduce that and get it to work, and that was insane. All of it just felt so natural. I don't, I'm always more in the camp of more choices for players is always a good thing, and that's what I really want. If you want to modular your, make your gun or change out your weapon loadouts, I think that's a great thing. It makes balancing a nightmare. But I think, because then you start getting meta builds, and some people aren't really big fans of that. If you start doing it the other way, where you have more of a focused play style. So if you want to be infantry, or if you want to be the assault class, if you want to be medic, if you want to be the engineer, you kind of have a certain path to go down, and you start losing that meta build, and it's more so about what your class can do, not how you build your class. So it just depends on the type of gameplay you want. I'm a fan of both, but I'm always in the camp of give players more. If the players want more customizability, especially in a game like that where you do have infantrymen that modularize their weapons, they change out scopes, some do things like that. So that's a fair assessment. I guess it just depends on I guess it just depends on how realistic they want to go with. I didn't mind the modular, but it does, like I said, be careful what you wish for, guys, because you start creating meta loadouts, and then look at Call of Duty. People go insane for that, where you get melted in like 3 seconds because
I got some builds that are insane. I'm running around with 300 rounds. And the impact rounds, they're cutting through everything. I was never a Call of Duty guy like this since the Xbox 360 days, and I'm like in it now. I mean, obviously you see me playing Call of Duty all the time. It's you're right. It's a Pandora's box situation, Cork.
Yeah. I have I had a DMR build for a while that was like a 3-shotter, pretty much just a couple of headshots and a body shot, and that was it. They were gone. But I mean, how fun is that? So it'll be interesting to see where they go. I really like the direction they're going. I can't wait to buy it. I'm probably going to buy it day one just because I love Battlefield. Like I said, I worked on it on the series, so it's always near and dear to my heart. But I think for those that, and it's Vince Zampella, like, come on, man, he has that Call of Duty experience. I was so excited when they're like, yes, he's going to come and he's going to take DICE under his wing, because they needed the help, and they never ever really recovered after Battlefront 2, I think, as a development team. And I think with this coming out now, I think this is going to reset them. It's going to refocus their goals of what they want to do with the IP. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is one of those situations where Vince being in charge, and I love DICE, but they've been a bit directionless, Crispy. If you just look at some, again, they're not everything has been a failure, but the biggest problem with most of the Battlefields in the last 6 years, 7 years, is that they launched egregiously broken. This is not going to happen. They know that this needs to work, which is why they're having multiple betas. But I got to tell you, Crispy, what a year for multiplayer, right? You got obviously Black Ops 6 just crossed 50 million players, which is insane. The game isn't even a year old, and it crossed 50 million players. You got Gears coming out on the 26th. You got Helldivers 2 coming out. You got Black Ops 7 in potentially October, November. Now we have Battlefield 6, and there's a lot more that I haven't either went over or discussed. And Battlefield, I mean, we're keeping it to there, looks so freaking good. And someone in the chat actually had asked whether it was going to run in 120 frames. It is. It has been confirmed that Battlefield is expected to have a 120 FPS mode on Series X, which is likely through the performance mode option that prioritizes frame rate over graphics. If you want to play it in 4K, it's going to be locked at 60 frames. So I'm going to play it 120. But Crispy Bomb, let's talk about that multiplayer trailer. I mean, from the inception, just a song, and they left it. Well, I mean, Xbox took out the curses, and I get why, because I wouldn't curse either. But wow, I mean, goosebumps inducing gameplay. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, you might have introduced a new generation to Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit. Yes, baby. And I'm going to tell you right now, that song got me through a lot of like angry moments in my life when I was a kid. And I absolutely love it because they did something that I didn't think was possible. They brought me back to like feeling like, am I playing Battlefield 4 or Bad Company 2, baby? Because that destructibility absolutely destroyed my thought process. And I watch people on Twitch playing the game, and they don't even know what the hell to do. And the chaos, I love it. That is a war sim right there, baby. Like everything's happening all in front of your face. You got planes flying over, you got bombs dropping, you got freaking tanks flowing through next to you. If you're one class or the other, you can help them or you don't. You can ride them. They told us that you could ride the tanks. Okay, you could just jump on the back and ride them. Like that is epic. Like it's a war sim to inevitability, and I haven't been so enamored on how they presented it, how they showed it, how they talked about it in years. But they clearly cooked on this one, and the Twitch gameplay that says it all to me. I watched it. It was clear pandemonium. It was absolute, just everything was happening all at once. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, I'm looking more forward to the campaign because I suck at FPS. I suck at it. But there's a lot of other elements involved, including maybe jumping into M1 Abrams tank and just destroying buildings. And that will be fun to me. That's the way I roll. Like if I can be some kind of logical, you know, like, hey, we can win this if I do this one thing, that is awesome to me. And it's bringing me back. Like, honestly, like when I first saw this destructibility in Bad Company 2, like the way it was in the campaign even was like something I never experienced. And they clearly, and this is coming from not just watching what they showed, but the Twitch streamers, they clearly understand that is so important, because
yes. I mean, that's
that makes Battlefield.
Yeah, man.
And it's not just FPS shooter. It's, hey, can I drive a tank well? Can I fly a helicopter well? Can I support my fellow, you know, fighters and all these things? Like, I saw that all, and I watched multiple different Twitch streamers using different loadouts and all these other things. And I'm just like, and that really comes from the trailer. Like, you know, Break Stuff is near and dear to my heart. It really is. And you know, they left the F-bombs in, and I loved it because there's going to be F-bombs in the game. They actually showed it to you in the trailer. And also one of the devs said an F-bomb. So guess what? We're back, baby. Okay. Like, this is going to be an epic battle. And I mean, I'm seeing planes flying, like these huge area, like, and it looks really good. Like they cooked. Like, shout out to Vince. Like, if he didn't go in there, I don't think this would happen. I mean, hopefully the campaign is on a somewhat Bad Company level as far as story, but it's like it's one of those things. Like, I mean, I love the original Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. Okay, I love that because I could switch to whatever the hell I wanted during that campaign. And it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever have felt as a gamer, because I felt like superhuman, because like I was about to die. Oh, switch to the helicopter. Oh, start dropping bombs on them. It's one of those weird things. Like, the epic battle is back, baby. And I love it.
Yeah, there's a lot to get excited about. I mean, we I keep going back to the destructibility. It is crazy how buildings just fall like a deck of cards, and they are getting hit by tanks. I'm going to be honest with you. I record. You guys know I record a lot of Call of Duty stuff. I'm going to be recording my gameplay in Battlefield. I can't wait to run over people through a house. Like, I just gonna get into a tank and I'm just gonna 100 miles an hour right through the building, and hopefully I can get like a forfer. You get a whole squad, run them over. That is gonna be, and I'm going to put that up in clips. By the way, so don't get run over by Boomstick, otherwise you're going on prime time. Let me just say that. But the Belvedere, let's talk about this trailer again, and I gotta give it to EA. I gotta give it to Vince and the teams, and that is the stark difference here. Like, we know that usually DICE would be working on it, and it would be a lot of pressure. And DICE is a great studio, but I really do like the ideology that Vince. I mean, he took a page out of Call of Duty's books, and it's really his book, because he's the one that created Call of Duty, right? Before the whole ugliness of Activision, and now there are 4 teams working on this one game. And the quality, this is just, I mean, look, we got to play the game, right? The single player is expected to be about 6 hours, give or take, which is fine. Yeah. That's not why you buy Battlefield. It's going to be a great 6 hours, maybe a little longer if you're looking for stuff. You probably I'll replay it on a harder level. Awesome. But that multiplayer trailer, it sold me. It sold Cork, Crispy, you, a lot of people in this chat. Let's get your thoughts on what happened yesterday, because I think it was amazing.
I just can't wait to get my hands on the open beta. That's probably the biggest thing. Like, and I've said this before. I'm cautiously optimistic because I kind of felt burned from 2042, and then the whole thing with Jedi Survivor coming out broken, even though there was a day one patch that they told all the influencers that gave it 9s and 10s out of 10s. EA didn't deliver quite the day one patch that they said. And it was the same thing with 2042. There were some things missing in the beginning, and, some bad bugs, older build. I wouldn't say it was rushed, but it definitely rubbed me the wrong way as far as after buying like the deluxe edition or whatever. I was like, yeah, EA is not getting any more money from me at this point. But the open beta is going to be where I kind of get to test things out, and being subscribed to Game Pass, the whole EA discount and everything. It's great. Loved everything I saw in the multiplayer trailer, as well as the clips afterwards. The key thing is I like the fact that vehicles can damage buildings. So if you wind up or you run out of ammo in the helicopter, you use all your guns, you can at least run the helicopter into the sniper tower and knock it down, or bring the building down on the sniper by just shooting out the base of the building. Like that, those are the things I like, because after, like you said earlier, walking for 7 miles to get to the the battle line, and then you get sniped. Yeah, I'm coming back with a vehicle, and I'm finding that sniper and making the building fall on his head, kind of thing. And that's the battlefield that we're all looking for, kind of thing. The close combat, the craziness, like you guys said, it is like a war simulator, and without all the seriousness. You don't. I mean, communication's great. You don't have to. But when you're playing games like Squad, that's like a must, where you're going to have to communicate and stuff. This one, at least, if you're with your friends in a squad, it looks like it's going to be the same craziness that we've come to expect from Battlefield. Like, only in Battlefield moments. Just the fact that you can drag your fellow soldiers out of harm's way to revive them. So medics are going to be coming in clutch as far as making sure you have at least a good medic, or understands to get behind cover. Although, once again, you could knock the building down on them as well. But yeah, everything that they showed looks promising. But I got to play that the beta. That's the biggest thing. As long as there aren't people stuck in like tankers or walls or something like that where they can shoot out and you can't shoot them, I think this is a buy for me. But if there's some weird 2042 type bugs, when the hitbox or the hit detection was a little off, and there were some other issues ran into, I know the servers are going to be swamped. So that first day, was it Thursday or something like that?
Yeah,
I expect that there's going to be people that are going to be frustrated, and I'm not going to pay attention to that. It'll be what they do over that weekend to get people in the game, because there's probably going to be a ton by the weekend's time that are going to push those servers to the limits. And if EA can get those things to hold up, then yeah, this will more than likely be a buy without a problem. But everything they've shown is promising. Everything they've shown is what we've been asking for them to do. If you're a shooter fan, whether you're a COD fan or a Battlefield fan, I think this is going to be a great year in general. But yeah, the beta is going to be the determining factor if they get my money. Otherwise, at least the beta will be fun with the crew. Try not to die, or do, like you said, run over people with the tank. That's going to be the fun stuff. Just well, I don't know about getting a tank loaded on a plane like we've been able to do in the past, but yeah, definitely try some weird stuff. But yeah, it looked awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm again. You're getting both the campaign and the multiplayer. I didn't listen. It looks amazing, and with Vince Impella leading the charge, I think this is going to be a winner just based on what we saw. The single player campaign looked amazing. The multiplayer, listen, we've already gushed over it. It just looks insanely fun. And I think that you're going to enjoy it running solo and playing with randos, which is what I normally do, or getting together with Asante and a bunch of other people and doing multiplayer. That looks like that's going to be fun as well. I love the fact that there's going to be a server selector where if you want to play open, where you're just not stuck with a class and weapon base, you're just open. They're going to respect your wishes, and there, of course, and there's a lot of people out here in this chat right now that are Battlefield traditionalists that want the guns and weapons locked to a class. The fact that they're not ignoring either of the groups is brilliant, and it's right off the bat. It's a step in the right direction. Forget the destructibility; looked awesome. The graphics look next level. What more can we all say? This is going to be probably the best Battlefield since 4, and that is a long time ago, ladies and gentlemen. But look, let me just catch up on Super Chats. We'll get you out the door to finish off your Friday so you can start your weekend. A big thank you to well over 400 people watching live. Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate everyone kind of just popping in and hanging out with us on a Friday morning. We have Nightwolf in the chat. Drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, love the new revived drag teammate. Yes, that looks awesome. New destructive elements, the old Operation Firestorm maps. Really hope they bring back the old Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. Yeah, it looks like they're coming back. And again, there was a leaked list. A lot of those classic maps are coming back. Like, they know people want to run around in those maps. And they had some really classic maps for Battlefield 3 and 4. I think they're all gonna get remade at one point or another, which is dope. We also have Sloth in the chat, drops a very generous $10 super chat. He goes on to say, I'm excited for Battlefield 6, but I just hope that they keep the multiplayer and battle royale separate. Please don't make the same mistake Call of Duty did. It needs to make sense. I think everything is going to be separated where it's understandable. Call of Duty is confusing. Like, I know what I'm doing because I play it pretty much every day. But when I wasn't a player, like when I was trying to, when I was just tipping my toe back into it, it's during the Spawn campaign, and I'm like, how the hell do I get to multiplayer? Like, this is just crazy. I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, they need to make, again, like the kids like to say, make it make sense. Let's hope that everything is separated where, this is the server for this. You want to play the battle royale here, go here. You want to play multiplayer. As long as they make it understandable, I don't think it's going to be a problem. We have Torino Johnson in the chat, drops a very generous $5 super chat. Torino goes on to say, just some support, Boom. Good show, gentlemen. Thank you, kind sir, for that support. And of course, it's great to see you here, Torino. As always, Tim the Sorcerer, who was one of the first ones in the chat, as he always is. So, Tim, thank you so much for always being here. And of course, the very generous £6 super chat. And he goes, awesome show. Have a great gaming weekend. Panel and chat. Have fun with Battlefield 6 beta. I'm on vacation for the next 3 weeks. I'll see you then. Well, listen, be safe. Enjoy that well-needed vacation. And in fact, we will see you in a couple of weeks. Tim, thank you so much for that. Gentlemen, let's get on out of here. We'll start first with Corkenstein. Cork, brother. Obviously, Game Pass Gumbo, still a thing. We're going to find out what you guys are doing. Some sad news that if you'd like to share with the community, you can, in fact, share with the community. Again, it's one of those situations where it is worth talking about. And, of course, where the channel goes is something that you guys are going to get together and figure out. And, of course, before any of that, tell everyone where they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, thanks for having me as always, Fuzzy, Crispy. Always great to talk with you guys. Boom, as always, for having me every Friday. Your community, thank you guys for the awesome conversation. I did want to say, though, this is probably going to piss off some ponies. Game Pass is the only place you can get Call of Duty and Battlefield 6.
Yes,
because you get the EA Play for 10 hours.
Yes.
So another killer deal for Game Pass. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
you guys can find hot takes like that on Twitter. Bam, right there. The Corkenstein, right there on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. That's my handle everywhere for the most part. And then Game Pass Gumbo. We are working on, like I said, getting the intro redone. I think what I'm going to do is once we get the music, I'll reach out to Sean Labrie and see if he may be able to create a really awesome intro, because I love how he did yours. He did Web Dave's. He does a lot for the community.
Yeah, he sure
so I
does.
want to reach out to him and see if maybe he can work some magic, because I've been creating most of them myself, but like I said, I'm not the wizard he is. And then the sad news, Xbox Talks is kind of on hiatus right now. The guy that started with me, Foreman, I found out yesterday he passed away. It's on hiatus right now. He was one of the core founders of it 7 years ago. We started that and just kind of just off and on did some fun stuff. So we'll see what happens. We may do an anniversary show or a memorial show. I'll let you guys know. I'll shoot it in the chat if you guys don't mind sharing. We'll probably be talking about some of his favorite games like Viva Pinata, Final Fantasy, things like that. So be on the lookout for that. Maybe we'll do, I know we had a bunch of giveaways. We'll do a bunch of giveaways, kind of like a celebration of life kind of thing. Once we figure that out for everybody, I'll let you guys know when that happens.
Okay, good, man. Good. Yeah. Again, let us know so we can help share it out. And obviously, again, folks, I know it's this is going to be like the oldest man thing you hear today, and it's fine. I don't mind being the old guy in the room. My pops used to say all the time, yeah, if when people ask me how's your day going, I always say I'm happy I got up today. The rest of the day's a bonus. Again, it's just one of those things. Yeah, it's an old man thing to say, but you never know. You just never know that you're not going to get up. And for me, it's unicorns and rainbows all day long, and that's why I like being a good guy, because why not? But Crispy Bomb, so the brand, brother, where could people follow you on the socials, get that crispy truth, and potentially get a receipt or two thrown their way, especially if they talk out of turn? What else you got going on, brother?
Salute to him, by the way, Cork. Didn't know him, but
thank you.
Respect.
Always sad news, man.
And also, at Chris Bellman X, Chris Bellman 28, Xbox Live. And, obviously YouTube has changed my name. I'm always going to do that. That drives me crazy. We have to realize that it's just games, people. It's games. And I wish no harm to anybody that's argued with me, even said some really messed up stuff to me. I don't. And I think that's the most important thing to think about is don't hate people because they don't want to hear your thoughts either. And I've learned that over the gray beard lifetime, because I'm getting some gray now, which is not fun. But enjoy yourselves and have a great weekend.
Thank you, brother. Super appreciate you being here as always. And of course, last and no way least, the best bald head in the business, who obviously tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be co-hosting with the missus on the new episode of Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. What are you guys talking about? What are you guys potentially watching? And where can people not only subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow you guys on social media?
Well, first I want to say rest in peace to your friend Korkenstein.
Thank you.
Well, if you ever need to talk or anything like that, I'm always available. But yeah, sorry to hear that. As always, love doing this on Fridays with you guys. Love hearing views from Crispy, Cork, and you, Boom. Just love talking about games. Like I guess best way to put it, this is my hobby and my escape from reality to some extent. And this is what I look forward to every Friday morning and Monday afternoon and stuff, and just love doing this stuff. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, I put the link for my YouTube in the chat, as well as you can find me on social media. Just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere. You can find me. You can usually find me playing either Forza Horizon 5, GT7, or Division 2 at some point on any of the systems. And then, later on tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like Boom said, we'll be doing Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. The movie of the night is The Collector, a bit of an odd one. What I would say is be mindful of anybody doing renovation on your house. Do background checks if possible, because this movie definitely takes a definite dark
Are you
turn.
watching the original or the second one?
The original.
Okay, because the original was good. Mrs. Boom and I absolutely loved the second one. The second one was freaking amazing.
No, but the first one, it has a dark side and catches you by surprise. But that'll be the movie for the night. Would love for you guys to join us. Link is in the chat as well. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you guys there. And everybody have a safe, blessed weekend. Play some games, watch some scary movies, enjoy yourselves, and see y'all this time, same place next week.
Yes, indeed. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here as always, brother. Super appreciate working with you on both Mondays and Fridays. Again, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the new episode of Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. Well, folks, that's going to do it for us here on today's episode of Breakfast at Boom. A big thank you to all of the super chats, and there's been quite a few of them. Thank you to all of the gifted subs. And folks, if you did not know, we did a contest yesterday where we announced 10 winners, and I've actually reached out to most of them, and some I have not heard from. So the people I have not heard from is Big Mad Mo, J Mo Money, Joe Dunmore, and of course Sith Lord and Lethal Pop I talk to regularly. So it's so Big Mad Mo, J Mo Money, and Joe Dunmore. DM me, email me, or of course message me on Xbox with your first and last name, which I pretty much have, and your mailing address or your shipping address, so we can get out those physical prizes. And again, we couldn't do any of these giveaways if it wasn't for the generosity of the show, of the generosity of the people that come to the show each and every day. So again, thank you so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming through your super chats, your channel member chats, as well as your gifted subs. And of course, we're going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.